Hi, brave souls. Welcome to the Brave Evolution podcast. I'm your host, Chantel Hampton, and this is your boost of empowerment. The Brave Evolution is all about you being brave enough to dig deep and face the fears, face the ugly, and face the horrible cards you were dealt, and allowing those beautiful jewels deep inside of you to take root and to grow. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy and excited that you came back to join us for another episode of the Brave Evolution podcast. I am also thrilled that I have a dear friend, my beautiful sister, Malia Wambolt, with me. For all of those that joined into my webinar before the end of the year, I had Malia's sister-in-law, Caitlin, my other good friend and sister, on. And so I have Malia on. And I really wanted to talk to her about her practice, her endeavors, all that she's doing, but to also spread some light on one of the biggest topics in our lives, and that's food and nutrition and eating, and how that can impact us as entrepreneurs, how it can impact us as just people, and the different habits and things that we have to break as we live and go along in this life. So I am going to read Malia's bio. Malia is a functional nutritional therapy practitioner with a passion for nutrition education. Malia studied nutrition and dietetics at Framingham State University, and upon graduating, continued her studies as a holistic nutritionist through the Nutritional Therapy Association and Restorative Wellness Solutions. She offers one-on-one nutrition coaching, functional lab work for gut health, and group nutrition classes. Malia is proud to have partnered with the Juice Plus company for 4 years, sharing whole food, fruit, and vegetable capsules, knowing that small wins can truly lead to massive change in people's lives. As a passionate wellness educator, Malia loves public speaking, where she can teach on topics such as how to be a label detective, how to food and mood journal, and how to truly live a vibrant life. Thank you, Malia, again so much for joining us and speaking to us and educating all the brave souls watching. And so I appreciate you.
Yes, thank you for inviting me on. I'm so excited for a talk today.
I am too. I'm super exciting, and I want it to be as natural as possible because we do talk and it's not like we're strangers. So we have had several conversations over the years. But one of the things that and we've spoken about often is my health and like the struggles that I've been having. And I remember when you started your journey into nutrition. So I wanted to really ask you what led you into that world. Why did you start there? What was your interest? All of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So my journey with health and wellness started my freshman year of college. And, up until that point, I was just, before starting college, obviously in high school, I was a typical high schooler. At that point in time, you're having more independence. My parents would work late, so I was just feeding myself, right? And I would come home and eat like a sleeve of Oreos every single day. I would go to school with an empty stomach and like drink this massive coffee with extra cream and like extra sugar, and would be like trembling in class and just not knowing why. I really struggled with anxiety and depression and, stuff going on with my cycle and just all sorts of things. And in addition to that, high school really brings a lot of hormonal changes, right? And you grow, and a lot of females are put onto hormonal birth control. And that was part of my story to manage symptoms. And I ended up gaining in high school about 25 pounds, during that season. And so for me, by the end of high school, I just really didn't feel like myself, internally or externally. I just felt weighed down. I didn't have a clear head.
Right.
And just my emotions didn't really match who I really feel like I am,
Right.
I had no idea. I had no idea that food and your nutrition could really impact every single aspect that I was dealing with. And so my freshman year of college was when I started learning about I started going to the gym. I started learning about nutrition and wellness. And I found this page where they were teaching about nutrition, and I purchased their nutrition plan. And I just read through that thing, like studied it, because it really taught you about food and taught you about like what food is doing in your body and what you need. And I was like so fascinated by that, and found myself just like teaching everyone what I was learning and being like, did you know the darker the bean, the more antioxidants are in its shell? And people would just be like, cool, like thinking that everyone was going to be as on fire about it as I was.
Yeah.
And so, as I was learning about nutrition and applying it, and as I was learning, I was also working with a personal trainer. As I was learning to work out for my body and eat well, I had a full transformation, body, mind, and soul. It's also the year that I found my faith. So I had these two transformations happening at once, physical and spiritual. And yeah, I just was lit on fire for this like study of nutrition and wellness, and just teaching others. So that's really how I got into it.
That is so exciting. I love that story. And I love that you're in it because of your testimony, because of what you went through and what you dealt with. And so many people deal with that. I mean, I guess that's why I've been forced to kind of be on that journey as well, because of just the pain and the struggle, and just trying to figure out what actually works and what helps. So thank you so much for sharing that. And so did you plan on doing like working for a practice, or did you plan on being an entrepreneur? What was that thought process?
Yeah. So, what's interesting is that when I first, everything for me has been kind of like a fight to gain my self-confidence and belief in myself. And, now looking back, I can't believe how little self-confidence that I had in myself. So it even started with the decision to study nutrition. It's like, am I smart enough? I don't think I'm smart enough, things like that, we like these things that kind of go through your head. And so it was like, do I go through nutrition and wellness, which is maybe a little bit easier, or nutrition and dietetics, which is going to be essentially a couple classes away from being able to apply to med school,
Right.
and just feeling like, oh, I don't think I can do it. And still taking that path, like, okay, I'm doing nutrition and dietetics, graduated from there. And, after I graduated, I felt like, being a dietitian wasn't quite the right fit for me. And so, working at a nutrition and wellness weight loss clinic, a nutrition clinic, I just felt like my world was really, really small. I felt very much like I would look at other people online who were running their own business and being like, wow, wouldn't that be amazing to be able to make your own schedule and kind of like have this freedom and flexibility to kind of create what you want. But that could never be me. I would think that like, that could never be me. That's someone else, that will never be me. And just kind of feeling like, just feeling like, oh, I'm always going to be the person who doesn't have like a passionate work life. I'll never find that passion. I also used to buy into this belief, like my husband's going to be the one who provides for me and I can't provide. Like, it's really wild to think back to that, so I definitely I didn't have the belief, like if I could see in the future to where I'm at today compared to my belief then, I wouldn't have been able to see that this would be possible,
Wow. Wow, Malia. I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That is amazing. And it's amazing how much what we believe drives our actions, or our complacency, or
Right.
our fears. What we believe does that. And I'm proud of you. I have to say, I'm really, really proud of you for stepping out and daily stepping out. And I mean, even I know I'll share your Instagram and you'll have an opportunity to do that later. But as I'm seeing you post and just how passionate you are, like it makes other people passionate, and your personality makes other people interested in wanting to like jump on. And I love that. And I'm glad that you're taking those steps to put yourself out there. Super happy about that.
Well, thank you.
Of course, of course. I absolutely love your label detective character too. I think it's awesome. And so I wanted you to talk a little bit about that and what services and why you chose to do it that way and like what services you offer with that.
Okay, yes, the label detective. So I like to call myself, I'm a functional nutritional therapy practitioner. It's a mouthful. It's a holistic nutritionist. And I really love to call myself like a health and wellness detective. And, one of the things that I kind of thought of, there's a lot of people in the wellness space on Instagram and just in the world, of course. And one day as I was, driving and thinking, I just had this thought pop into my head, thinking about I'm so passionate about reading labels and making sure that people understand if the food that they're eating is poisoning them or not. I'm very, very passionate about it. And so as I was driving, I thought like, oh my gosh, wouldn't it be funny if I like had a detective costume and like was like the label detective and like looked at labels and talked about them and created this character. Like I went home and immediately bought like this like silly dinky little costume on Amazon. Oh man, when I first tried it on, I was like, I'm gonna die. This is so embarrassing. But I was like, whatever, we're embracing it. And, because I know nobody is doing this online, so like, so I just grabbed all my garb and started, doing the label detective videos. And I feel like it's a really great way because it makes people smile and laugh. And I feel like that really helps. People tell me all the time now, like when I'm in the grocery store, I think of the label detective, and so that is that is branding awareness, of course, but it's also getting into people's minds and to me, making a huge difference. So, the label detective, abides by three principles, three questions that you can ask when approaching a label to understand, or just to get into the ballpark understanding of if a food is going to be nourishing for you, or if you might want to skip it, because labels, it can be so overwhelming, even as a nutritionist studying this for over a decade. Like there are many ingredients and I'm like, I have no idea. So I can only imagine for someone who's brand new, how overwhelming it can be. Mm. So the three questions, first one is the ingredients list long or short? Because usually those super long ingredients lists, it's an indicator that it's going to be more highly processed and filled with, some items that we are going to be toxic to our bodies.
Right.
So that's item number one. The short and sweet list is what we're looking for. Two are those ingredients lists, are most of them foods that you can identify from nature? Things like apples, oranges, dates, peanuts, things from nature? Or do you feel like you have to use Google in order to understand what you're eating, right? Mm-hmm. Because we don't even need to explain that, right? Like, because if we have to use Google, then maybe that's not quite a food that's recognizable to our body, but rather something that was created in the lab.
Right.
And then our third question is, are there added sugars and toxic fats in this product? So those are the other kind of two things to look for. Added sugar is in almost every processed food. And then inflammatory fats are just really a huge thing. If people could even swap those out, will really dramatically impact someone's life. So we look for those three. And, just kind of give ourselves grace on the rest, because that will really, really lead us into the right direction.
That is awesome and very, very helpful. And I know like it's a reminder for me every time I go, I'm like, oh, okay, think about the label detective too. Because sometimes you just grab and go, or like if you're on the road, I know at one period of time, traveling a lot or driving a lot and you stop. But can you tell us even about like, how would somebody pay attention to that if they are in that position and like eating out and all of that? What are some suggestions you can give there?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're someone who's on the go a lot, I really think that there comes a time where we have to make some shifts, right? Where if we really need to go all in on our health, like creating a plan, having a plan and being ready for these types of things is going to be really important. For example, me and my husband just went on a road trip all the way to Florida. We were driving, pretty much for almost 22 hours straight. And I packed our food. because we have done it in the past where we just kind of left it to chance and would just have to stop wherever. And then you're just really not sure, like you can never be certain what's going to be going into your food
Right.
unless you are preparing it yourself. So, on one hand, it's really important, like if you're someone who travels a lot, you're going to be on the go, to start thinking like ahead of time and say, okay, one of my most important things as an entrepreneur, as someone who wants to show up as my best all the time and prioritize my health, is I am now someone who thinks this through ahead of time. I'm not leaving it to chance.
Right.
But let's just say that you are you're at, everyone obviously has to stop every now and then. Like
Right.
that's a perfect world, being prepared all the time. When you are at those places, usually if you can still find things that are going to be pretty simple, like you usually can find some form of vegetables, right? And protein. And, if we can try to avoid things like things that are deep fried, like sometimes we'll be able to get like a grilled protein with vegetables, whether it's, a Chick-fil-A, you're getting like a salad with the grilled chicken strips on top, or the grilled nuggets or something like that. And just, getting some water for hydration. Like you can still make some choices that are going to kind of push you in that direction. But then just knowing that like, okay, I give myself grace in these moments because I'm focused on the other 90% of the time when I'm not stopping. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's helpful.
That's very helpful. That's great advice. And I guess even with that, there are still many people like afraid to make those. I guess it's afraid to put the work in because the well, as an entrepreneur myself too, it's in a totally different field. So I'm not thinking about food. So there's times where I will go maybe like the first half of the day and like forget like, oh, I haven't eaten. Or I'll be like, I don't know what to eat, or I don't want that. Or sometimes like in my situation, foods have been making me nauseous or sick. And so it's like, oh, it becomes a stressor. What do you say to people though that are afraid, they've grown up a certain way, they're used to eating a certain way, they're used to food tasting a certain way based around the way mama cooked it, the grandmother cooked it, all of that, like they're used to that. What would be the necessary steps to kind of come out of that thinking, to make their own lifestyle change?
Oh, I love this question. And, if I could just go back to just how I was talking about how in the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey, like I never could envision myself as an entrepreneur, right? Like I never could see myself. It just was like a block for me. Like I could never be that person. And I think it's very easy to look at someone like me who's a nutritionist, right? And say, I'll never be like her. Right. And the thing that really opened the door for me was one of my best friends, when I was just kind of talking to her and being like, I wish that I could create my own schedule. I wish I could do this. I wish I could do this. She was like, well, Malia, what if you just kind of changed the way that you were speaking about that? And instead of saying, I wish I could create my own schedule, you said, I'm going to find a way to create my own schedule. And that just kind of like opened up the door, that took the pressure off. It wasn't, Malia, create your 10-part business plan where you're going to quit and you have to, like whatever. It was, I'm going to find a way. So it opened up that door and I started I felt like, okay, I felt inspired by that. And I'm like, okay, I'll start doing some research. I can do that. I can maybe start finding some ways. And I would say that that is the same thing with any journey, and especially with your health journey, where it's so personal. We are deeply connected to our roots through food, through tradition, through things at the dinner table, all of that, celebrations. It's a very, very personal thing. And so to say to yourself, like thinking about, I want you guys to all think about like, how do you want to feel? Like what is that, instead of figuring out the why, or instead of figuring out the how, try to think of like, what is the why? Like, what is your yes first? Like, if I could, I would create my own schedule, right? That was me. Or like, if I could, I would have like great energy. I would feel satisfied. I'd be on top of my nutrition game, so kind of thinking about that. and getting excited about it. And then just saying, I'm going to find that first step that feels good for me in my journey. And
Yeah.
just taking the pressure off, to say like, it doesn't have to be, everything all at once. It can be just that first step that gives you a little bit of momentum that will grow to where you become the entrepreneur or become, the person who is like, wow, I fulfilled that vision for myself, with my health journey.
Excellent, excellent answer. Thank you so much. That is perfect. And I guess it just, again, like you said, it really is in every area of our lives. And so for those people that are dealing with chronic pain and chronic illness, I know even for myself, those are the thoughts every single day. That's what motivates me. And I know we were talking and you shared with me the other day, like, that you were proud of me for like continuing to care and show up for
Right.
myself. But I do have a vision of myself healed, and I know that what it feels like to feel good on a daily basis, and I picture that. And so I'm gonna not do things that are going to jeopardize that, and try my hardest not to do things that are going to jeopardize that. And that takes education, that takes accountability, that takes the willingness to actually show up for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for that answer.
Absolutely.
Well, coming down to the end, but what lessons has life taught you on this journey? You've kind of answered this a lot, but of Brave Wellness and coaching.
Yeah, I love that question. So I would say one of the biggest things that I've learned in my entrepreneurial journey and in my health and wellness journey, like even after studying nutrition and dietetics for 5 years, like I had a lot of information in my brain, but was still dealing with a lot of stuff in my body, didn't know how to take that and apply it. And I found myself kind of copying and pasting what other people were doing who I looked up to online. I'm like, oh, wow, like this girl is in the fitness industry, love what she's doing. She's tracking macros. I'm tracking macros. I'm eating the foods that she's eating. And it messed me up. That's one of my lowest moments, in health, when I started breaking out with painful adult cystic acne, and hormones were all over the place, and just energy, mood swings. It was horrible. And, that's when I went on to do my holistic training. And what I really learned through that was the term of bioindividuality, like each and every person is so specific that you are going to have a very unique protocol and like way of eating and doing things and everything that's going to be unique to you and your genetics, your personality, your lifestyle factors, your health history, your ability to digest foods, all of that. And so I learned how to stop looking at everyone else and how to listen to my own body through practices like food and mood journaling, and learning to tweak. Okay, like I'm hearing what my body and the feedback, so I'm gonna tweak this and really hone in on myself.
Right.
And I think that is such that's a huge lesson. Is like, I think it's so tempting, whether it's in the entrepreneurial world or your health journey, to always be looking at other people and to always think that other people have your solutions.
Right.
When in reality, if we can turn it back on ourselves and say, I'm pretty special. I should focus in on myself, give yourself that love and say like, I can learn to trust myself, trust my body.
Yes.
That is huge, like the more that I focus in on me rather than comparing, I feel like the more success that I'm able to have in both worlds.
Absolutely. Awesome answer. That is great. In closing, what's next for you? What are you working on now? Is there anything you'd like to share with the audience? How can they find you? All of it.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Yes. Okay. So you can find me on Instagram, Malia.wellnesscoach. You will find me and the label detective there. And then what's next for me? So I have some exciting, I really, really love public speaking, and I love educating, so I teach some nutrition courses. I'm thinking of, adding in a few new nutrition courses around family planning, which I think would be very interesting. And really, really looking forward to booking some more public speaking now that events are happening again. And then I'll also be traveling in April to California for the Juice Plus conference in Anaheim, California, which I'm very much looking forward to too. So those are, some of my major things coming up.
That is really cool. And can you really quickly explain what Juice Plus is?
Absolutely.
So audience to hear.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so Juice Plus is what I like to call my not so secret weapon. It is encapsulated fruits and vegetables. So we all need that like sort of easy button, I believe, every now and then, because great health and wellness starts with, getting a ton of different nutrients from whole foods, including we're supposed to get 9 to 13 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. Right. And that's just at like a baseline, a minimum, like for a healthy person, let alone if you're an athlete, that doubles. If you have a chronic illness, it just like, if you're pregnant, a lot of the life stressors that we go to increases our need for micronutrition, antioxidants, but it's already hard enough to get that baseline of 9, even 9, right? So Juice Plus is just such an amazing tool. Fruits and veggies in a capsule, 30 different fruits, vegetables, and berries. And, I call it my little easy button so that I can give myself grace and know that like I can have this 10-second habit that can make a big difference. So whether it's a day where I can, check all of my nutrition boxes and hit all my goals that I love, or I can feel good. And in addition, I'm getting all this goodness on top of that. Or the days where, like you, it's like 1 p.m. and I haven't even looked at a vegetable. Like I could still know I'm doing something really good for my body. So yeah, I love it.
That's awesome. And on your Instagram page, can people can find out more about that there too, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is a link in my bio that will bring you to my Juice Plus page, but I'm happy to start conversations with people too. If anyone wanted more specific information, yep, there's a link in the link tree. And you can also just, if you have questions specifically, if it's right for you and your families, we can get free gummies as well for kids, which is awesome. So yeah, just let's start a conversation. Or if you just feel like, yeah, this sounds like a great option for me and my family, then you can definitely just go to the link as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. I'm going to end there. This has been amazing. And I'm grateful for you as always. And you all, she's the best. Not only is she great at what she does, she's very knowledgeable at what she does, but she also cares and loves everyone.
Yes.
She really exudes that love. So it won't be a cookie cutter plan. It won't be anything that is just like, do this, and then she sends you on your way. What you see is really what you get. And she's bubbly and fun and loving. So I love you and I appreciate you. And hopefully we can talk again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And I love you so much.
I love you too, of course. Take care, Malia.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.